What happens to the Earth after just 24 hours without humans? This is something that many people have wondered about. In fact, it's been a topic of many science fiction movies. But what would actually happen if humanity suddenly vanished? After just 24 hours without humans, the world would look very different. There would be no more cars on the road, no more planes in the sky, and no more garbage on the streets. The animals would continue to take back the land, and the silence would continue to be deafening. But the changes would be even more dramatic. For example, all of the crops would die, since there would be no one to water them or harvest them. This would lead to mass starvation for many animals, including livestock. As we mentioned before, the world would be much quieter without the sounds of traffic and human activity. Noise pollution has been shown to cause stress, anxiety, and even hearing loss in humans. It can also disrupt the mating calls of animals and even cause them to abandon their young. This would not only make our cities more visually appealing, but it would also prevent animals from eating our trash, which often ends up killing them. Of course, this is just a small sampling of the changes that would occur after just 24 hours. There would be countless other benefits to living in a world without humans. This newfound peace and quiet would have a profound effect on both the flora and fauna of our planet. Animals would be able to communicate with each other more easily, and plants would grow stronger and more resilient. It would be as if nature was taking a deep breath of fresh air after years of being stifled by human activity. For example, all of the major cities would be completely deserted. No human would be around to take care of them, so they would quickly fall into disrepair. Skyscrapers would crumble to the ground, roads would crack and decay, and bridges would collapse. Our cities would become nothing but ruins, and our farms would return to being wild habitats. Others might evolve into new species, and new life might emerge in places we never thought possible. Ultimately, the Earth would look like a million different versions of what it currently looks like. Some areas would revert back to what they looked like thousands of years ago. Other areas would look like scenes from a science fiction movie. In fact, it would be difficult to believe that humans had ever existed. It would be as if the cities had never even been there. With less noise pollution, animals would be able to communicate more easily and raise their young without being constantly stressed out. Entire ecosystems would change and new ones would form. In some cases, species would go extinct, while in others they would thrive. The balance of power would shift as predators found themselves on the menu, rather than being the ones doing the hunting. Many of our agricultural fields would begin to wither and die without the care and attention of human farmers. But one thing is for sure, it would be a very different world. Whether that world would be better or worse is up for debate. But one thing is certain, it would be a world unlike anything we know today. Over millions of years, the planet would be completely unrecognizable. Our cities would be nothing but dust, and our farms would be covered in thick forests. It would be as if humans had never existed. By this point, nature would have had plenty of time to start reclaiming the land. Any evidence of our existence would be completely gone. The only things left behind would be our artifacts and our impact on the environment. Plants would be growing where they had never grown before. Animals would be returning to their natural habitats, and the land would be slowly but surely being healed. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and share with your friends and family. Thanks for watching. Within a few years, nature would completely overtake the cities and farmland. Trees would grow through the concrete. Animals would live in the ruins of our greatest cities, and plants would cover the land where crops once grew. It would be as if humans had never existed. Food prices would skyrocket as supplies dwindled and hunger would become a common problem. But despite these challenges, the natural world would still be healing and growing stronger. In addition to the changes we've already mentioned, the world would be a much quieter place after just a week without humans. That is because our constant chatter and laughter would no longer be echoing through the streets or coming from the televisions in our homes. In fact, the silence would be so profound that many animals would probably find it deafening. Farmland would be overgrown with weeds, farm animals would roam free, and the barns would collapse. It would be as if the agricultural industry had simply been abandoned. The skies would be clearer without the contrails of airplanes, and the streets would be cleaner without the litter that accumulates from our daily activities. While these changes may seem small at first, they would actually have a big impact on the environment. However, some animals would thrive during this time. For example, rats and roaches would do quite well since they can survive on very little food. Instead, there would be nature slowly starting to reclaim the land. These contrails are made up of water vapor and other pollutants, which can trap heat and contribute to global warming. Less contrails would mean less pollution and a cooler planet. Animals would be out in full force, taking back what was once theirs, and the silence would be deafening. Birds would be able to sing freely without the background hum of traffic drowning out their songs. Flowers would bloom and release their fragrances into the air without us to pollute the atmosphere with exhaust fumes or perfume. And the stars would shine more brightly than ever before, unimpeded by the light pollution that emanates from our cities. In just 7 days, the world would continue to look very different. We'll explore these topics in greater detail. In just 1 year, the world would be unrecognizable. The animals would have continued to take back the land, and nature would be thriving. It would be covered in lush vegetation, and wildlife would be everywhere. It would be a world unlike anything we know today. In fact, many animals would see an increase in population during this time. This is because there would be no more humans to hunt them or kill them for sport. In addition, all of the crops would have died and been replaced by weeds and other plants. The world would be a much greener place, but it would also be a much wilder place. There would be no more roads or highways, no more buildings or cities. Only nature would remain. If we fast forward from there, we can only imagine what the world would look like. The earth would be completely transformed. If you want to learn more about what would happen to the earth after just 24 hours without humans, keep watching. Let's start with what would happen after just 24 hours. For example, the reduction in noise pollution alone would be a major benefit for both humans and animals. The skies would also be clearer without the contrails left behind by airplanes. And finally, the streets would be cleaner without all the litter that we humans seem to generate endlessly. But now let's talk about what would happen after 7 days. This sudden quiet would allow nature to begin its slow but steady process of healing. It would be as if the entire planet was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Of course, not all of the changes would be positive. And after just 1 year, the changes would be even more dramatic. In fact, the Earth would be doing so well that many of the changes would be difficult to believe. In the countryside, there would be a similar scene. Of course, this wouldn't be the case for long. And if we fast forward even further, the changes would be even more dramatic. Eventually, the Earth would completely heal itself. Some species might go extinct due to overpopulation or changes in their habitat. During this time, the Earth would experience massive ecological shifts. As time went on, the Earth would continue to heal itself. In fact, it's likely that future generations would never even know we existed. It's hard to say exactly what would happen to the Earth after just 24 hours, 7 days, or even a year without humans. So what do you think would happen to the Earth after just 24 hours without humans? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.